Hey there, I'm Gary Parrish. Welcome back to the CBS Sports Eye on College Basketball podcast, where we sometimes discuss camel fighting, dodo birds, and leaky black. The Eye on College Basketball podcast is presented by Jersey Mike's Subs. Jersey Mike's, a sub above. Cal Boone is here with me. If you're watching on YouTube, smash the like button like you're Brandon Davies. You have consent. If you haven't yet subscribed to the CBS Sports College Basketball YouTube channel, do that while you're here. Okay, let's get into it before the big conference tournaments start. We are doing short episodes on the 6 so-called power conferences. In some form, we've got previews of the ACC tournament, Big Ten tournament, Big 12 tournament, Big East tournament, SEC tournament, Pac-12 tournament. This one is on the Big 12 tournament, which gets underway Wednesday inside T-Mobile Center in Kansas City, not to be confused with T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. You got two power conference tournaments happening inside T-Mobiles. One is a T-Mobile Center. The other is a T-Mobile Arena. This one, Big 12 T-Mobile Center. First round on Wednesday, quarterfinals on Thursday, semifinals on Friday, title game Saturday night, 6 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. Kansas is the number 1 seed after winning the Big 12 regular season title by a game. 2 seed is Texas, 3 seed is Kansas State, Baylor's the 4, Iowa State's the 5, TCU's the 6, Oklahoma State's the 7, West Virginia's the 8, Texas Tech, coachless, at least permanent coachless, Texas Tech is the 9 seed, and the 10 seed is Oklahoma. Right now, Jerry Palm has 7 Big 12 teams in the NCAA tournament: Kansas, Texas, Kansas State, Baylor, Iowa State, TCU, West Virginia. Oklahoma State is among his first 4 out. Kyle Boone, Strong Jaw, first question. Before we focus on the happenings in Kansas City inside T-Mobile Center, if I gave you the Big 12 or the field to win the national championship, keep in mind, the Big 12 has won the past 2 national championships. Would you take the Big 12 or the field?
Ooh, great question right off the top. I think I'm taking the field. That's tough, though. I really like the top of the Big 12. I think they have 2.5 legitimate contenders, maybe 3, depending on how you view Baylor. Kansas should be regarded as a title contender. I think Texas and Baylor are right there. I would take the field. As a Houston guy, I'm very much excited about their prospects, obviously in the American Conference. Alabama in the SEC, I think, is a contender. UConn in the Big East. So, yeah, I think probably I would take the field, but it's pretty close, and I think it's totally reasonable. If you wanted to take the Big 12, you have a pretty good case. I mean, the top of the Big 12 is really strong, and metrics-wise, the Big 12 is leaps and bounds better than any other major conference in college basketball this season.
Yeah, I think the Big 12 has more legitimate title contenders than any other league. You would still take the field over the Big 12. Even I, the person who presented that question just to get a conversation started, would take the field over the Big 12. But if you did take the Big 12, you would get Kansas at plus 800, Texas at plus 2,000, Baylor at plus 2,000, TCU at plus 3,000. You would get 4 of the top 14. In terms of odds to win the 2023 NCAA tournament, 4 of the top 14 are from the Big 12, including the school with the second best odds right now, according to Caesar Sportsbook. That is Kansas. Houston is the favorite at plus 650. Moving on, your Oklahoma State Cowboys are, like I mentioned, just on the wrong side of the bubble, according to Jerry Palm, the CBS Sports bracket expert. They play Oklahoma on Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Obviously have to win that game. If they do, they'll play Texas on Thursday. Does Oklahoma State have to beat Texas to feel safe, or do they need to do even more than that maybe?
You have to beat OU to start, and I think you probably have to beat Texas to feel at least somewhat comfortable. You know, bracket projections right now have Oklahoma State just on the outside looking in, and I think that's pretty reasonable. They've completely fell off the map here in the last month. They've lost 5 of their last 6. The resume just is kind of what it is at this point, which is not very good. So we'll see. I think this Oklahoma State team has a chance to win 2 games in the Big 12 tournament, and if so, I think we're talking about them into the tournament field. But they're shorthanded. Avery Anderson, who was, kind of their do-it-all scorer and leading assist guy, is out for the season. He's not expected back, and that has really hurt them down the stretch. They don't have a ton of scoring on this team, and that has been a problem that has plagued this team of late. So we'll see a little bit of drama on the bubble in the Big 12 tournament this week. Oklahoma State, of course, getting the Wednesday draw, the first round, because they are down the line a little bit. So yeah, we'll see a lot on the line for both those Oklahoma schools this week.
We look at the teams playing on the first day of the Big 12 tournament, and then compare it to the teams playing on the first day of the or the ACC tournament. It's not even comparable. And I know it's because one league's got 15 and the other team's got 10. And so you get some garbage at the bottom, but a first day participant in the Big 12 is still a legitimate candidate to make the NCAA tournament. Goes without saying they got to beat Oklahoma. I think probably got to beat Texas, or else you're really sweating it out. And then I'd still put the odds against you to get there. Beat Texas, I think you're probably good, because then you can't take – and obviously losing to Texas wouldn't be a bad loss, but you add a quadrant one win by beating Texas. Frankly, you add a quadrant one win every game. Every game that will be played in the Big 12 tournament is a quadrant one opportunity for everybody involved, because everybody's in the top 100 of the net. So you beat Oklahoma, quad one win. If you beat Texas, quad one win, and then take a loss, quad one loss, I think that's good enough. The real question is, what happens if you play Texas to the final 2 minutes and then lose by 4? Where are you then? Obviously, with Jerry Palm, if he were here, what he would tell you is, depends on what else happens around the country, right, which is obviously true. But I think you beat Oklahoma and Texas, you feel good. Beat Oklahoma, lose to Texas, really iffy, but I would lean towards not feeling great going into Selection Sunday. So the top 4 seeds, as I mentioned, in the Big 12 tournament, it's Kansas, Texas, Kansas State, and Baylor. Obviously, if the bracket keeps to form, those 4 teams would be in the semifinals. But I doubt those 4 teams will be in the semifinals, because brackets don't usually keep to form. Which of those, Kansas, Texas, Kansas State, Baylor, do you think is least likely to make it to the semifinals of the Big 12 tournament?
I think it's Kansas State. Kansas State gets that tough matchup in the quarterfinals against TCU. This TCU team, I think, criminally underseeded, and I think rightfully so, just based off how they perform this season. Obviously, they're 9-9 in conference play, but it doesn't completely contextualize how this TCU's season has gone, which is to say that Mike Miles has missed a significant amount of time. Eddie Lampkin missed a chunk of time. Basically, their 2 best players were not available for most of conference play. So, when this team is right, when they're healthy, I think they are possibly a top 3, top 4 team in the Big 12. And they get a matchup against a 3 seed in Kansas State that I think is very much winnable. They beat Kansas State at home in Fort Worth earlier in the season. Of course, went to Kansas State and got blown out in the Octagon of Doom. But that's a matchup that I think is going to be really, really difficult for Kansas State. So I like TCU to potentially advance, and they'll probably be a slight underdog. But that's a really tough matchup if you're Kansas State.
I think you and I agree on this. It's Kansas State least likely to get there to the semifinals, and it's got really nothing to do with Kansas State, at least from my perspective. It's got everything to do with TCU. If Mike Miles Jr. doesn't miss any time this year, TCU is maybe in contention to be a top 2 seed in the NCAA tournament based on what they were with him. So this is a team that is underseeded in the Big 12 tournament and will be underseeded in the NCAA tournament, because the team it has available to it now hasn't been available to it for not insignificant portions of this season. The other one to keep an eye on, though, is we're going to get a quarterfinal game between Baylor and Iowa State. And Iowa State just blasted Baylor by 15 at Baylor. Now, you could get a revenge factor thing, or now they got our attentions, all these things you hear in sports all the time. But Baylor, as the 4 seed in a game against the 5 seed on Thursday, is coming off a 15-point loss at home to that same team. So that's another interesting place to look. I feel pretty good that Kansas is going to be able to get to the semifinals. and that Texas is going to be able to get to the semifinals. But Kansas State and Baylor, how about this? Are you comfortable predicting this? Either or, Kansas State or Baylor, one of them's not making it to the semifinals.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I would bet that Kansas State does not make it to the semifinals. But if it's Baylor that doesn't advance, wouldn't surprise me either. A TJ Otzelberger in the running for best postseason Big 12 coach in modern history, right?
I mean, Bill Self exists.
No, better than Bill Self. Got to be.
TJ Otzelberger's better than Bill Self, better than the coach of the reigning national champions in the postseason.
Oh, based off last year, everyone's writing off Iowa State. They go make a little run. Everyone's ready to crown TJ Otzelberger coach of the year. Do you remember this?
I witnessed it.
It was crazy.
TJ's obviously been terrific. Iowa State went through a tough little stretch to end the season, then dismissed a key player from the team and bounced back from that and blasted Baylor at Baylor. So I don't know if one game qualifies as momentum, but Iowa State is coming off a big win as it heads to Kansas City for this Big 12 tournament. All right, Cal Boom, before we get out of here, let me get your prediction. Which two teams are going to make the title game of the Big 12 tournament? Who is going to win it?
Okay, so Kansas is definitely advancing to the title game. If you've been to the T-Mobile
Arena is in Vegas, and I have been to the T-Mobile Arena several times. I don't think I've ever been to the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City. What was the previous building in Kansas City, or is this the same building?
I think it's the same building.
Okay, well, what was it before?
I don't know what it was called.
Because I've been to that.
Okay, it's the same arena, like in the Power and Lights District downtown. Yeah, that's the same building. So they must have renamed it. Maybe it was the T-Mobile Arena and then it got upgraded to the center, or maybe it got downgraded. Arena.
What do you think? Center. What do you think is more prestigious, being the T-Mobile Center or being T-Mobile Arena?
I think it's got to be Arena, right?
I think the Arena sounds more prestigious than the center. It's like, that's just a little center, but this is an arena. Think of like if you were a rapper, you'd be like, I'm playing a center tonight, or I'm playing an arena tonight. I'm doing an arena tour, or I'm doing a center tour. What sounds better? Arena.
It's arena.
Yeah. Like if you're 21 Savage, would you rather be on an arena tour or a center tour? I'd rather be on an arena tour if I were 21 Savage. Yeah, I wish I were 21 Savage.
Me too. I'm not doing a center tour. Do your quadrant 1 wins count differently inside an arena versus center?
I think everything is different inside of a center as opposed to an arena. Oh, it's formerly the Sprint Center.
Sprint Center, yes. Yeah.
Okay, I've been to the T-Mobile Center, just not when it was known as the T-Mobile Center.
Great place.
I knew the T-Mobile Center when it was merely the Sprint Center.
Wow. You are old.
I've known T-Mobile Center. Feels like forever. Me and T-Mobile Center go way back. How about this? Before that, there was Kemper Arena. Oh, pretty sure I've been to Kemper Arena too. I feel like I've been.
How long ago was that?
If I keep talking, give me 5 more minutes, I'm going to tell you about the time I lived in Kansas City.
How long ago was this? This had to have been like 15 years ago.
I don't know. I can't keep track. Things are moving so fast these days. T-Mobile Center in Kansas City, Big 12 tournament. Who's playing in the championship game?
It's Kansas. And it's Oklahoma State. Okay, no, it's not.
What?
It's Kansas and it's TCU. That's what I think will happen. TCU just feels like the perfect. It's in a perfect spot there where it can get past Kansas State, and then it's probably going to draw either Texas or Oklahoma State. I like their chances against Texas. Kansas, of course, it's going to be the favorite. They're the best team in the Big 12. That is a distinct home court advantage inside the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City. And so, I like Kansas to win. They're always going to be the favorite in this venue. You go to this arena, this center. It is very much Jayhawks packed. So I like Kansas to win. Big hot take there. Number 1 seed advancing and winning.
I'm going to pick with my heart.
Pick it.
Not with my brain. I'm going to pick with my heart.
What would 21 Savage do?
That's what he'd probably pick with a gun. He'd probably pick with a gun if we want to know the truth. He'd probably flash a gun and then pick something.
Seems like a bad idea.
Yeah, like he's had enough gun flashing over the past week, you know?
I can understand.
No more. You think I'm going to be the second Memphian to flash a gun this week on video? Nope.
I would.
Not
I
me.
wouldn't.
I learned from other people's mistakes. And I keep all my guns off Instagram Live now.
What do you do on Instagram Live?
Nothing. I've literally never been on Instagram Live. Never in my life. It would never even occur to me that people want to know what I'm doing on Instagram, like just sitting in my house. I've never even thought about, I might go live. That's never even went into my head, much less at the middle of the night at a strip club with a gun. I'm talking about middle of the day at my house with my remote control. It's never occurred to me to go live. So I'm not saying I'll never do it. I'm just saying I don't have any plans to do it.
You've never been just sitting in a strip club at 4 a.m. thinking, God, man, I need to reach my audience.
I have sat if I'm just being honest, I have sat in a strip club at 4 a.m. but never occurred to me to pull my phone out. And it's also been 15 years probably since I was a younger man back in those days.
That's the Kemper Center.
Yeah, I left Kemper Arena, went straight to the strip club, texted 21 Savage to see if he would join me. It was good times back then. Picking with my heart here. What I want to see, what'll be the most fun Saturday night? Kansas against Kansas State in Kansas City. They split the regular season, and now you got Jerome Tang against Bill Self for the Big 12 tournament title. So that'll be my official prediction. I recognize TCU is a real threat to Kansas State in the quarterfinals, but give me Kansas. Let's put this down as what I want to see. Forget a prediction. What would you like to see? What would be the most fun? Kansas State, inside T-Mobile Center on Saturday night. Winner cutting nets. Kansas, a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament, no matter what. Yep. Shouts to Devin Downey. Shouts to Chester, South Carolina. Shouts to Huck. Shouts to Larnell. Thank you guys once again for listening to the Ion College Basketball Podcast. If you're not subscribed, please go subscribe anywhere you subscribe to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. 5 stars, nice review. There's more of us than there are of them. That needs to be reflected in the comments, and we will talk to you again real soon. Till then, take care.